Okay, there's a few things left with pronouns. So we need to know that for pronouns, um, for incomplete constructions, incomplete constructions, those are when a pronoun comes at the end of the sentence after a word like than or as. So, for example, Maria spent more money than blank, either they or them. His young son is now taller than either I or me. Bradley can wax floors better than I or me. And then the long walk tired us more than either they or them. Okay. And then basically, a lot of people answer these questions incorrectly. They kind of go based on how it sounds to them, which is wrong because the way that it sounds is actually grammatically incorrect. So, for example, most people for the first sentence might say, Maria spent more money than them. That is not correct. Or Bradley can wax floors better than me. That is also incorrect. So, what you have to do for the incomplete constructions is you absolutely have to add some words to the end of the sentence. You absolutely must finish the sentence in your head. Meaning, for example, Maria spent more money than they did, or more money than they spent. So the correct answer is actually they. Bradley can wax floors better than I can. And the long walk tired us more than it tired them. So some people are not really sure of, okay, but how do I finish the sentence? How do I add more words to the end of the sentence? What do I do? So there's a trick that you can use. Okay, let me write this out. What you're going to do is you're going to kind of make, okay, well, hold on. Maria spent more money than, and then what you're going to do is you're going to make a blank, and then you're going to repeat the verb from the sentence, which was spent, and then you're going to add a second blank. And you know what? Just to make it easier, I'm actually going to add, let's say the sentence doesn't just say Maria spent more money than blank. Maybe it says Maria spent more money on clothes than something. So what you're going to do is after you've added these blanks, you're going to figure out which blank sounds best with each pronoun. And we're just going to kind of ignore this first part. So if I say blank spent something, I wouldn't say them spent. I would say they spent something. So that means that only they can go in the first blank. Okay. So the first sentence, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Maria spent more money on clothes than they spent blank. Okay, so basically the they only tells me what's okay for the first blank. It does not tell me what's okay for the second blank. Okay, now I'm gonna go back to the original sentence. And actually, you know what? Maybe let me write out two. Okay, hold on. First blank, and then in this one we're figuring out the second blank. Maria spent more money on clothes than blank spent blank. So with the second sentence, again, I'm trying to figure out which one is better to say for the second blank. So I'm kind of ignoring the first blank. I'm ignoring the first blank. And again, my only two choices for the second blank are either they or them. Oh, I have an idea. Maybe I just get rid of that. Here we go. So I would say something was spent maybe on them, but I wouldn't say spent on they. So that means that only them is appropriate in the second blank. So Maria spent more money on clothes than blank spent on them. So like I said, step one is you add a blank and then spent, like you repeat the same verb and then another blank. Then you're testing each blank one at a time and figuring out whether they or them fits. So in this first sentence, I was just trying to test out the first blank. Would it make sense to say either they spent or them spent? Okay, so it makes sense to say they spent. So that's how I got this sentence right here. Then in the second one, I'm testing out the second blank only and trying to figure out would it make sense to say someone or something spent money on they or money on them. Oh, it makes sense to say money on them. That's how I got this sentence. Now you might be wondering, what goes in the other blanks? So what goes in the other blanks, you have to pick some words from earlier in the sentence. So for example, when I say Maria spent more money on clothes than they spent, I need to pick maybe than they spent on Maria or they spent on clothes. I just kind of need to figure out which one makes sense. I think it would make sense to say Maria spent more money on clothes than they spent on clothes. That's it. So for the second the other blank, I have to pick words from earlier in the sentence. The same thing with this other sentence. Maria spent more money on clothes than blank spent on them. So I need to think, well, does it make sense to say Maria spent more money on clothes than clothes spent on them? No. Maria spent more money on clothes than money spent on them? No. Maria spent more money on clothes than Maria spent on them? Well, that at least grammatically makes sense. So you see how I'm using one of the words from earlier in the sentence. I'm not just making up some random word. I'm only looking at words from earlier in the sentence. So now it's like, okay, but which sentence is correct? Maria spent more money on clothes than they spent on clothes? Or Maria spent more money on clothes than Maria spent on them? We just need to figure out which one makes sense as far as meaning. I think it makes more sense for meaning for the first sentence. Like we're comparing who spent more money, Maria or they did. And so it would be they. And so that's why the correct answer is they. Let me do another example because I know it's a little confusing. But honestly, I'm doing it this way because people don't know what words to add after the sentence. So this is the trick to explain what words you add. The long walk, so actually, let me write this out. First blank. The long walk tired us more than blank. And then I need to repeat the verb tired. And then I'm going to add a second blank. And then in this first sentence, I'm only testing out either they or them. I guess technically I could go ahead and figure it out. And again, it helps to kind of ignore this first part. And I need to think, well, does it make sense to say they tired someone or something else? Or them tired someone or something else? Oh, it probably would be they. So the first option is the long walk tired us more than they tired someone or something. But now I need to look at the second blank. The long walk tired us more than blank tired blank. Now I'm testing out the second blank with the pronouns they or them. And now I need to think, okay, well, does it make sense to say someone or something tired they? Or someone or something tired them? Oh, it makes more sense to say tired them. And so that means that them is going to go in the second blank for like the second option. So the long walk tired us more than something tired them. Okay. Now what goes in the remaining blanks? I have to pick something from earlier in the sentence. So for example, the long walk tired us more than they tired. Well, it doesn't make sense to say the long walk. How can they tire the long walk? That doesn't make sense. But it could be tired us. The long walk tired us more than they tired us. In this other sentence, the long walk tired us more than blank tired them. It doesn't really make sense to say more than us tired them. Or we could say the long walk tired us more than the long walk tired them. So notice again, I'm just reusing words from earlier in the sentence. I'm just testing all of them out to see, well, which one makes more sense. Now we need to decide between this sentence and this sentence and figure out which one makes sense as far as meaning. The long walk tired us more than they tired us. So we're comparing which was more tiring, they were or the long walk. I don't really think that that's what the sentence was trying to say. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But it does make sense to say the long walk tired us more than the long walk tired them. So now we're comparing different things. We're comparing who was tired more by the long walk. Was it us or was it them? So I think the one that makes the most sense is this one. So the correct pronoun is them. I'm going to go over one more example. But this time I'm going to use the practice questions that we're going to be using. Okay. So the two options are Kelly navigates rush hour traffic as well as he, or Kelly navigates rush hour traffic as well as him. So remember, step number one, so we're going to write a blank, repeat the verb, and then add a second blank. Now the first blank, we're going to test out he or him. And then the second blank, oops, we're also going to test out he or him. So let's see. And again, it might help to kind of ignore this first part. It makes sense to say he navigates someone or something. So in that first blank, it would make sense to say he. And then in the second sentence, it would make sense to say someone or something navigates him, but definitely not he. That wouldn't make sense. So those are our two sentences so far. Now for the second blank, we need to pick some words from earlier in the sentence, like maybe Kelly or traffic. So Kelly navigates rush hour traffic as well as he navigates Kelly. That sounds a little strange. I don't think so. Kelly navigates rush hour traffic as well as he navigates rush hour traffic. That's possible. That would make more sense. Kelly navigates rush hour traffic as well as rush hour traffic navigates him. And that doesn't make sense. Kelly navigates rush hour traffic as well as Kelly navigates him. I mean, that's the only way that makes grammatical sense, but it doesn't make like sense as far as meaning. So that means that the correct answer is this, and it's using the pronoun he, so we should change it to he. Kelly navigates rush hour traffic as well as he. Okay, you can try this one.
So it would be her.
That would imply Liz's lab partner sterilizes the instruments just as frequently as she sterilizes, or as frequently as Liz sterilizes her.
Okay.
It would be Liz's lab partner sterilizes the instruments just as frequently as she does, or as she sterilizes.
Okay. So what would be the other word other than I?
Me. Okay, so we're going to do the two blanks method. Would we say I memorized something or me memorized something?
I.
Okay, so I goes in the first blank. And then would you say that someone or something memorized I, or would you say someone or something memorized me?
Me.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that means that if we're using me, it's going to be in this second blank. Now I need to pick, for the other blanks here, I need to pick some words from earlier in the sentence. Maybe the actors or the lines. So the trained actors memorized their lines more easily than I memorized. Well, it probably would be the lines. I don't think that the person is memorizing the actors. That wouldn't make sense. Or the trained actors memorized their lines more easily than, well, it wouldn't make sense to say the lines memorized me, but maybe more easily than the actors memorized me. Which one do you think makes more sense?
I.
Okay, then that's why I is the correct answer. It's like implying much more easily than I did, or more easily than I memorized.
It, this this sentence doesn't make sense to me.
How about for them?
That makes more sense. The sentence is correct the way it is. As he. It's correct the way it is. For this sentence, I would put, so he plays far better than I.
Yes, far better than I do or far better than I play.
For this sentence, I say it's correct the way it is. Uh, this one doesn't make sense to me. I would put they instead of them. They instead of them. Oh,
So the Breakneck Ridge Trail exhausted the inexperienced hikers more quickly than it exhausted them. This is why I like to use the two blanks method because it's not always going to be like more quickly than they did or more quickly than they exhausted. No, it's not always like that.
it's gonna be us. For this one, I would put I instead of me. Instead of him, I would put he. Instead of we, us. Them.
I'm sorry, pardon?
I would pick the sentence as it is, them. The sentence is correct the way it is with they. Instead of me, I. Instead of her, she. Instead of we, us. The sentence is correct the way it is. That sentence is correct the way it is.
Okay, let's move on. Let's go on to pronoun-antecedent agreement. Okay. Okay. All right, the last topic is about pronoun antecedent agreement. So a pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun or another pronoun, and it's represented by a pronoun called the antecedent. The word ante means before and cede means come. So the literal meaning of the word antecedent means come before. Okay, so like I said, the literal meaning of antecedent means the word that comes before. Okay, so um, right, the antecedent is the word that the pronoun is supposed to be referring to. Okay, so for example, the state employees received their benefits. So the pronoun there is referring to the antecedent of employees. And then Erica thought she saw the stolen van and reported it to authorities. So the pronoun she is referring to Erica. So Erica is the antecedent. And then reported it to authorities. So it is the pronoun and it's referring to the subject or the antecedent van. Okay, so most of the time the pronoun and the antecedent are going to match, meaning like notice that Erica is singular. And then let's see, employees is plural. And so that means that there is also plural. So where it starts to get confusing is when the pronoun, or I'm sorry, when the antecedent is another pronoun. Okay, so this is where we need to be aware of the indefinite pronouns. And so we need to be aware of which pronouns are singular. Okay. Um, yeah, which ones are singular and which ones are plural. So the ones that are always singular, this is my acronym for them, which is supposed to be sane, triple S, triple A, triple N, triple E, someone, somebody, something, anyone, anybody, anything, no one, nobody, nothing, and everyone, everybody, everything. Those are always, all of those are always singular. Okay, and then there are three words that are not part of that list that are also always singular, which should be each of, either of, and neither of. So what I do is I cross off the of and then whatever is after that and replace it with one. So that way it sounds like each one, either one, neither one. And so the one is supposed to help us remember that it is singular. Okay, so let's give an example of, okay, but what's the issue? A lot of people say this improperly all the time. Okay, so um, right, people are used to saying these improperly. So, for example, each of the women wore, a lot of people would say their favorite outfit to the ball. That is not correct. So it actually should be, like I said, the way that I make it easier is I cross off the of and then the noun after it, and then replace it with one. So that way it helps you remember, oh, it needs to be singular. So it would be each one of the women, or each one wore her favorite outfit to the ball. And then anyone who takes up steer wrestling should pay up? No, not their life insurance. The reason why is because anyone is singular, which means that you absolutely have to have a singular verb. So, or a singular pronoun, I meant. So in this case, um, anyone is singular, so that means that we have to use a singular pronoun. There is plural, so that doesn't work. And that's why we have to say his or her. Then someone left, no, not their makeup in the restroom. It should be his or her, or just her, as long as it's singular. Okay, then neither of the tenants could find, no, not their copy of the lease. It should be his or her. Okay. Okay, and then when you have two pronouns that are joined by and, okay, then we can make the pronoun plural. Because now automatically you're talking about more than one person, place, or thing. Okay, so for example, Bill Gates and Sam Walton built. Okay, well, now that we're using and, now it's okay to say their empires from scratch. Um, when you have or nor, then that's when you need to actually look at which word is next to the pronoun. So for example, Trent or Jared will loan you. As soon as I see that or, I'm looking at who is closer, which in this case is Jared, and Jared is singular. So that means that the pronoun also has to be singular. So it should be his. Okay. And then the same thing with either or and neither nor. You still need to pay attention to who is closer. Okay, now neither the students nor the teacher brought, well, as soon as I see that nor, I'm looking at who's closer, and the person who's closer is teacher. Teacher is singular, and so that's why we say his and not, for example, their. Okay. All right, we can try some of these questions. Um, there's one I definitely want you to skip, which is number 4. And I'm gonna do questions 1, 2, and 3 just as a reminder. So with number 1, we have no one in blank right mind would follow your advice. A lot of people would automatically say there. That is not correct. And so, like I said, you have to not go by sound. You need to go by the grammar rules. And the grammar rules are basically that because it's no one is part of the sane, the triple S, triple A, triple N, triple E. And so all of those are singular. So it would be her because her is singular. Okay, and then let's look at question 2. Neither the soldiers nor the sergeant was sure of blank location. Okay, so again, as soon as we see this nor, we should pay attention to who's closer, which in this case is sergeant. Sergeant is singular, and so the sergeant, since that's singular, that means we need to pick a singular pronoun. Okay, now, last one that I'll do is an example. Anyone who is interested in the pilot project should sign. No, not their name on the contract. As soon as we see this anyone is part of the sane. Triple S, triple A, triple N, triple E. So all of those are always singular no matter what. And so that means that we need to pick the one that's singular, which would be his or her. Okay. Right now, I'd like you to try 5 through 10.
For number 5, it'll be his. For number 6, it. For number 7, there.
So someone is singular.
Oh, for number 8, his or her. For number 9, them. For number 10, his.
Perfect.